Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, August 24th, around 9 p.m. Mountain Time 2023. A minor R1 radio blackout is in progress as an M1.4 solar flare is currently occurring, probably Earth-directed. We also have an uptick at Campi, Flegrei. We've been talking about increasing ground deformation and seismic activity. Should we worry? Keep calm. It's boom time. Severe thunderstorm watch in effect in Wisconsin and Illinois. All of southern Michigan under severe thunderstorm watch until 1 a.m. And the dangerous heat continues for the center of the U.S. Extreme dangerous heat wave continues for the next few days. On Friday, the sultry conditions will stretch from the plains to the mid-Atlantic and the southeast. Then, over the weekend, sweltering conditions will concentrate and focus in the southern U.S. The mainstream won't tell you about the record cold in the west and the north, where areas in purple and pink will be up to 20 degrees below normal. The tropics are heating up, and let's take a look at what we've got brewing. Tropical storm Franklin currently might bring a little weather to Bermuda by Monday or Tuesday, as it will be well offshore. We also have multiple systems in the Atlantic and several developing in the Pacific. Let's take a look at Emily. Emily appears to be moving towards the UK in just a few days. 4 or 5 days from now, Emily will make her way up into the UK in the southern region. So heads up, UK, a few days, you're going to see Emily moving up into your region. What else do we have to look at? Invest 92 and 91 in the Eastern Pacific. No threat, Invest 92 is moving away from land, but Invest 91 is showing some similar activity to Hillary, unfortunately, and it looks like some of the tracks are moving it towards Mexico or towards Baja. So stay tuned, as in the next 2 or 3 days, these forecasts will tighten up a bit. Now, British Columbia and the Canadian news absolutely making a mockery of journalism. Here it says BC winery owners talk about how climate change is affecting their operations. And then it says wildfires are just the latest extreme weather event. I hate to tell you, but wildfires are not a weather event. So very bad reporting there. And it's hitting winemakers in British Columbia. But remember, wildfires are not a weather event. Wildfires are catastrophes that are caused by lightning, typically humans like arson or careless people leaving campfires unattended, but certainly not weather. Now, interesting developments in Mexico. Have you seen a crack in the world has developed? And this may all be in Spanish, but it is worth a look.
Nació una grieta, es una grieta importante aquí en la zona de Milpas, esto en la donde termina este poblado, justo en la zona de Milpas y en el área que comienzan a lotificar para que se habite. Esta grieta aproximadamente hemos calculado que mide unos 500 metros de largo y tiene de profundidad, en el punto mayor vemos que puede alcanzar hasta los 2 metros de profundidad. En este lugar se encuentran elementos de la Secretaría de Seguridad del Estado de México, quienes, bueno, pues están de manera preventiva para evitar un incidente mayor. Se ha acordonado toda esta zona, de igual manera, pues personal Protección Civil llegó a este lugar donde, bueno, pues ya comenzará a realizar.
There you have it. There is a crack in the world in Mexico, 500 meters long, 2 meters deep, and it's anyone's guess what's going on there. Hawaii Volcano Observatory records the 4th earthquake swarm at Kilauea summit in the past weeks. We've been reporting on this over the past few days about an uptick in seismicity at Kilauea. Despite the activity, Kilauea is not erupting. However, the summit is exhibiting signs of unrest. No unusual activity has been noted along Kilauea's East Rift Zone or the Southwest Rift Zone. Sulfur dioxide emissions from the summit remain low, and the most recent SO2 emission rate of approximately 86 tons per day was measured back on August 15th. Seismic update. No quakes of note, but we can see some activity here. Definitely heating up here in Hawaii across the entire main island. Most normal activity worldwide as far as seismicity. Now, Campi, Flegrei volcano, increasing ground deformation and seismic activity. Should we worry? Well, we've been reporting on this uptick over the last several weeks, and the current status is 2 out of 5, restless over here at Campi, Flegrei. Volcanic unrest continues at the volcano, characterized by continuing uplift, seismic swarms involving quakes felt by local population, and intense degassing from various fumaroles and through diffuse ground emissions. Some of these phenomena have increased in intensity over the past weeks. However, it is believed that the chances of an eruption in the near future are still low. But the situation should be monitored very closely. Let's take a look at some of those gas emissions here. Well, that's the uplift. That's significant in this region. And so, bad news for the tens of thousands of people living in there. You can see the uptick starts sometime in 2006, let's say. It really ramps up by 2015 here, a pulse in 2012, 2015, and by 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Who knew? Now you do. The uplift, the correlated uplift with a number of events monthly. Well, this is a recipe for destruction over at Campi Flegrei for the people that live in this region. Now, the majority of the eruptions that occur here are not super volcanic. There are many different sized calderas. It typically erupts at VEI 3 or 4, which would be more similar to an Icelandic volcano. But because of the amount of people in this region, this would be catastrophic. Now, here we can see that major uptick that happened back here on August 18th that we reported on. Another flurry of activity on the 21st, but it appears to be quieting off. We're going to keep a close eye on this. Should the activity pick up in a much bigger way, not like this, we could be preparing for, well, a boom. Worldwide volcano news update. Swanos Hema to 6,000 feet today. We also have Nevado de Ruiz to 20,000. Mayon also puffing again today. Ubinus, no volcanic ash over the last 6 hours. Sabancaya to 24,000. We also have Popo to 19,000. Liwotolo, 7,000 feet. Karangitang to 8,000. Sangay to 20,000. Reventador to 15. Sabancaya to 21. Liwotolo, there you go. Little puffs, little passes, and a little picture of Reventador and how they measure that plume height. Now, the minor R1 radio blackout still in progress, ladies and gentlemen. After this M flare that just occurred, still D region absorption showing blackout here in the Pacific, basically. And so this was due to an M 1.47 solar flare that we're looking at right there, which has peaked and now is dropping off. So, impulsive M 1.7. Probably coming from active region 3413. Did they say it here? No. Okay, so we'll be waiting for some telemetry to come in on this flare. Probably no coronal mass ejection associated with this. And even if it was, it's such a low-level flare, probably would be insignificant. The current geomagnetic field coming off of a very low level over the last day and a half. Many of you were almost psychic. We're dropping back down now. KP is around high 2s. No aurora probability. Now, top journal Science says more than 2,600 of its papers may have exaggerated claims. And this top journal is the AAAS. Yes, that I've always claimed that for at least a decade. They have received millions of dollars per year from the federal government, and the AAAS publication Science is reviewing now the majority of its publications, 2,600 of its own articles, for possible fraud, exaggeration, and all that. Speaking of fraud and exaggeration, the other night we reported on an article claiming that volcanoes cause global warming, and now here volcanoes and wildfires offset 20% of global heating over 8 years. And they're trying to explain the lack of temperature rise on Earth, or the global warming pause, as you would like to call it. And here they're saying volcanoes and wildfires are helping cool the Earth. Fukushima nuclear plant starts highly controversial wastewater release. Have you heard? Yeah, China just banned all imports of fish and seafood from Japan because they're about to flood the Pacific Ocean with tritium. Yes, toxic waste over the next decade.
In Japan this morning, a nuclear plant destroyed by an earthquake and tsunami back in 2011 started releasing water that had been exposed to radiation into the Pacific Ocean. It's a release that follows months of debate and strong opposition from fishing interests who say this is very bad for business. And China has already reacted by banning all seafood imported from the country of Japan. Elizabeth Palmer visited the site earlier this year.
Experts for TEPCO, the company in charge, explained they've collected so much radioactive water from rain and runoff over the years, they kept having to add tanks to contain it.
Now these tanks are almost full of water, more than 1 million tons of it, and TEPCO says the only solution is to start getting rid of it.
By piping it into the sea next to the plant. For Haruo Ono, who's been fishing this ocean all his life, that is an outrage. It's not a garbage dump, he tells me. They say it's safe, but the consequences could be 50 years down the road. There will be no consequences, says TEPCO, because its technology removes all radioactive compounds from the water except one, tritium, which stays in but is diluted to meet international standards. So even when the water is piped back into the sea, TEPCO says fish from Fukushima will be safe to eat. The International Atomic Energy Agency broadly backs the tritium-laced water release, but will consumers actually eat the fish? Unlikely, says Haruo Ono, who is now looking at the end of his livelihood.
What do you think? Is Japan telling the truth? Would you eat the fish? Comment below. All the links and the link to this video will be below in the description box. Now take a look at this. You're looking at New Zealand from space, a recent photo from one of our satellites, and take a look at the background here. You notice something? Yeah, it's not flat. CDC says new COVID-19 variant could cause infections. And guess who? The vaccinated. Guys, what we're looking at here is a new pandemic of the vaccinated. The exact opposite of what they were claiming years ago. These experimental jabs do not prevent the spread of the Wu flu. They do not prevent infection. They don't do anything except hurt your heart. And now the CDC is saying the new variant will cause infections in the vaccinated. So I guess you reap what you sow. Speaking about sowing, here we're looking at a family standing before a 1,341-year-old sequoia tree known as Mark Twain, which was cut down in 1892 in the Pacific Northwest. The tree was a towering 331 feet or 100 meters in height. It was brought down by the pair you see here, who worked for 13 days to saw it using two saws that appears to be welded or joined together here. 13 days to cut through this 20-foot behemoth. Take a look at this sequoia, 1,300-year-old. Fantastic. Doesn't she look so happy down there? Look at her. This was colorized by Avi A. Katz back in 2015, and just a spendacular piece of American history. Now, more ridiculousness. Do you see this countdown? 9 years, 364 days, and seconds. This is a doomsday clock for the cult of Ben Davidson. Yes, in fact, they quote him right below the doomsday clock here. The most important thing for survival, you need a community of like-minded people with the same goal. Ben Davidson, solar micronova expert. Well, the bad news is that I guess Ben didn't get the memo. He's part of a doomsday cult that now has a doomsday countdown clock. In 9 years, 364 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 56 seconds, we're all dead from something that is impossible in our solar system. For those that don't know, the European Southern Observatory, or ESO, published some literature on Micronova back in 2022, which has to do with the interaction of a blue dwarf and a yellow giant, where the blue dwarf is cannibalizing the yellow giant, which causes a micronova. Now, nothing like this occurs in our solar system, where we have just one sun in the center and a bunch of planets revolving around it. And nothing like this is occurring in our solar system. So, the micronova that is described in science is not the micronova described with the Ben Davidson cult. Just to bring up to speed, where they actually have a countdown clock. And for those of you worried about the member of the Oppenheimer Ranch Project family, little gremlin here, our baby girl, this is a picture of her just about 40 minutes ago. She's recovering nicely. The surgeon told us they got good margins on the tumor, and the prognosis so far is excellent. We will not get the biopsy results for about another week. So pray with us. And that's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. I hope you got something out of the video. Please share the video, as we are shadow banned and we need your help to grow. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. Be safe. And that is a boom. Crestone Energy Fair.